Hello and welcome to the Meeple Mentor YouTube channel. I'm Jared, and with me as always is Holly, and we are doing a review today of Ninja Sloths and its expansion, or I should say standalone expansion, Ninja Sloths Sorcerer's Expansion Pack. Alright, we're going to start with the base game and kind of describe a little bit about how that plays. And as you can see, it's got a very functional box lid here that opens up, stores everything, and right inside is where you keep the treasured gems as part of the gameplay. So this game is 2 to 5?
I think so.
2 to 4, I think.
4?
2 to 4 at the base game. You can expand it up to 8 if you combine them. But we had a blast at 2, at 4, I think we just stopped at 4. But it's a card game primarily. You have a board in front of you where you lay out your starter sloth, ninja sloth, if you will. And then below those spots where your sloths go, you can slot in a weapon card for a given sloth. And essentially, you're looking at the numerical value of the sloth and the numerical value of the weapon and adding all of that on your board. And once you get to a number that is equal to or greater than the current guard or, guard's card in the top of the deck, right, which is what we're all kind of like fighting for, then you get to claim the gem from the box, or claim one, and then the top guard goes to the bottom of the deck. And
maybe just one.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There are other cards in the game, in addition to just the sloths and the weapons, that change up the gameplay, because you draw a card every turn before you start anything, and then from there you can either play a card and an action, or just kind of draw another card and move on. There's a hand limit, but usually you don't really get too much of a hand limit problem in this game, because you're always wanting to play stuff. It's kind of whoever can get to a certain value, fast or faster, will get the card for the gem. Fairly simple in terms of this, the structure of this, but it does get quite complex when you add in those action cards. The action cards are really about hurting other opponents and stealing gems from opponents, or stealing an extra gem when you complete fighting off a guard. So there's a limited number of gems in the box, based on player count that you're trying to collect, and whoever has the most gems once the last one's taken wins the game. So there's timing to consider, and when do you want to use certain action cards. There's always the stop card, the blocking of another player's action.
Well, not always. You have to have it in your hand,
Of course. I just mean that's a possibility of a card that you can draw, which it's like, do you hang on to it and wait for certain like critical moments, or really know when someone's going to be trying to do something mean and you have to stop them multiple times. No, it's fun. If you like card play, if you like random nature of actions and like interrupting people's stuff, it's very Take That.
It's very Take That.
It can get a little mean sometimes, because it's always unexpected when someone just decides to stop you from doing something, or blocks one of your sloths, or blocks a weapon that you were going to use, or steals your stuff. There you go. It's that kind of game.
Do you enjoy it? How much do you enjoy it?
I think it's good fun, because it's also silly, and it's not really meant to be taken seriously. And that's my kind of Take That.
As the person who actually won most of the hands, I have a minor complaint.
Okay.
I think there's a mild imbalance between sloths, weapons, and action cards.
Sure.
Because I would have rather, excuse me, I would have rather killed the guard and taken the gem than to have procured my win using action cards by just screwing everybody.
Yeah. I will say some of the action cards and how this game feels reminds me in a lot of ways of Munchkin, but not as long of a game, and I don't know, not necessarily as mean as Munchkin can be. Like you don't team up as much as you do in Munchkin, but certainly it gets pretty cutthroat at times. I think this plays a little bit easier than Munchkin too.
Maybe that's part of the issue for me, is that it seemed like it was too easy to, and that speaks to the quickness of the game and how easy it is to learn and function. And I don't know, I think maybe if the cards had a little more functions or
maybe
something like that. Now, I did like the expansion better.
So let's pivot, since you're bringing up the expansion. We've covered pretty much everything that's in the base game, the kinds of actions that you kind of see. The expansion adds a whole bunch of new cards and even new sloth types and weapon types that basically make the game a little bit more complex.
And a couple new mechanics.
Yes, so let's take a look at the Sorcerer's expansion pack. Different box color, but ultimately same components in general. You got more gems and enough content that you can combine them for up to 8 players to play now, and some new mechanisms. Do you want to talk about some of the new stuff?
Well, I do like that in this one you have your cards. So you have certain sloths with this iconography on the bottom of them that you can match up to weapons.
Yeah, it's kind of like a card suit, if you will.
Right, which made it a little bit more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were complaining about the potion requirements, but I actually liked it.
Okay.
I thought it added something to it. It made it just a little bit more challenging. It made it last a little bit longer. I mean, maybe that is a big complaint, is that from it's so quick that it's so quick. You know, it's really.
Yeah. Talk about the.
I don't want to say that there's not a lot to it, because that sounds like an insult, but you know, there's not a lot to it.
I like the additions they made, but let me talk about the additions before I kind of talk about why.
Yeah, you're better at that than I am.
Don't or do like certain things that they added. And if you're trying to decide, do I want the base game or the expansion as a standalone, it's important to note the differences. So like she mentioned, the potions, those are like a special item now instead of a weapon. And essentially you just have to have 1, sometimes 2 potions on hand to be able, as a qualifier, to attack the guard card that is on top of the deck. So the guards are basically more restrictive in who can attack them, whereas the base game doesn't matter. It's just once you hit the value of weapons and sloths, you can attack them. But in this expansion, there are some requirements on a lot of the guard cards, including having 1 or 2 potions, having a certain number of sloths in your group, kind of like as a minimum, or a minimum number of weapon cards as well. So even if you hit the number required for that guard, if you're not matching the other stuff, you're still not able to take it out. I found that while the matching of weapons with certain sloths to get a bonus attack power is cool, and like matching the suits of the sloths to that is cool, I found that generally speaking, the guard cards that are more difficult to attack, all that seems to do is increase the length of the game. Whether or not that's a good thing, I don't know, because it is, one of those games that fits in a niche of quick to play and it's funny, but at the same time it gets very competitive and take that. And if it takes a little too long, for me, it's almost like it pushes itself out of my happy zone of having fun with it anymore, because now I'm just like, okay, I've got to wait a few more turns before I can build all this back up, and then someone else took it, so now I gotta get another thing before I can attack the next guard.
Maybe I just had a lucky draw of resources.
Yeah. Now there are new action cards that kind of correspond to the new mechanisms and everything like that too, but really what it comes down to is every card that you need in the game is in one deck, and it's shuffled, and who knows if you're going to get what you need or how long it's going to take before you see a card that you really want to use. And I just wish there was a little bit more opportunity to like get through the deck or mill the deck a little bit, or draw like more than 2 cards maximum, to see more content faster, because I felt like the requirements, again, you're just like, well, I didn't get what I needed. I didn't get what I needed. Okay, now I got what I needed. Okay, now I got to reset. And that's a basic mechanism for the base game as well, is as soon as any one player, if they attack a guard and they defeat it, they get the gem, they have to wipe their board completely unless they have their starter Sloth, which has a lock symbol to remind you that he's the only card that gets to stay on your board. And so you're basically always starting from scratch after you use your sloths and weapons and items on a given card. And that's where I felt like this particular game, just extended the length of time.
You feel it made it more grindy and grueling.
Yeah, because really it's a matter of like who can get the best draw first, before the next player. So I felt like this could have some potential. I do like the new additions. I just felt like maybe there's some house rules to kind of negotiate the length there. I think at one point I suggested for us, I said if we played this without those requirements, and just did it as we did, but with this deck, it would be fine probably. But then that kind of disregards the point of all the potions, because they don't really have another use.
Yeah.
So which did you prefer if we were to look at the base game versus the expansion?
Probably the expansion, just for the fact that it added a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. It's more strategic, I guess.
Yeah, it didn't seem as easy. I really think that in the base game, and I don't want to like overly critique the game or anything, but I really believe in the base game, maybe more sloths, less action cards, because if somebody draws all action cards, boom, 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 they've won. Maybe. That's what kept happening to me.
Yeah. So
because every time you got a gem, I stole it.
Yeah. Because if you get the card that lets you steal, you just let everyone else build up their stuff.
I had like 4 of them in my hand, so I mean.
Yeah. So there are some flaws to the game, but I think I would say just the basic game is my preference, because it just kind of goes a little smoother without the bulk of extra cards that are not as... Because you just have to keep going through the deck until you find what you need, whereas this is mostly sloths and weapons that you can use, and even the actions are always going to be useful, whereas this one you have to like get certain things that pair well. And
I disagree.
All right. Fair enough. Split decision here at the Meeple Mentor channel. So you prefer the expansion, I prefer the base game.
That's cool.
That's fine. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it, to Ninja Sloths. I will say the artwork's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love the artwork.
Very inviting. I love looking at all the cards.
I kind of want to read a comic about these sloths.
Yeah. There is some kind of lore to this that you kind of pick up in the intro of the instruction manual, but most of it is just kind of, your sloths that are attacking things to get gems, and that's it. I mean, that's really all there is to it. So check it out, Ninja Sloths. This is from Boss Dog Games. It's awesome. A lot of fun. Check it out. Thanks for watching this review of Ninja Sloths. And I've been Jared.
I'm Holly.
See you next time. Bye-bye.